What is up, Munch fam? Happy Tuesday, and welcome to this week's episode of TNH Talks. I am Christian from Theo and Harris, and today we are back with TNH fan, watch geek, and friend Barron Quadro. Barron?
How's it going?
What's going on, buddy? Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
For those of you guys who don't know, and many of you probably do, Barron runs the Effortless Gent. What's the Effortless Gent, Barron?
What is Effortless Gent? It is basically a men's style site. We also have a YouTube channel. We focus on helping guys basically feel more confident in the clothing they wear, you know?
It's very actionable advice. I became a fan of Barron. Believe it or not, I think you've been doing this just as long as we have, if not longer. I was a fan of Barron before or right when I started TNH. And then we drifted apart, and now we're back doing content together, which is kind of it's kind of weird. I don't know if it's weird for you. It's kind of funny for me.
We're lovers again. It all works out.
I know. Yeah. All right. Did you pour a drink? We did our first episode without a drink, but did you pour a drink?
I sure did. I poured a drink.
What'd you pour?
I'm drinking Angel's Envy bourbon whiskey right now. Neat. So it's warm as nice to match my day.
What? Yeah, matching the swamp New York City weather.
Exactly. Not refreshing at all, but still delicious.
I am also in the center of the swamp, and I'm drinking Johnny Walker Black. Nothing fancy, just something that is tasty, does the trick, like an old reliable. Like my vintage Omega, which is on my wrist. And
nice.
What's on your wrist, buddy?
I have the Steel Datejust. Once again, it's my old favorite, my only watch, but I love it so much. I wear it all the time.
As you should. Okay, so I sent you a link earlier on today. I wanted to talk about this topic. Mm-hmm. It was an article that Hodinkee released a year or two ago, and it was an interview between Ben Clymer, their founder, and Ralph Lauren. I love this article. I would have loved if it was a video. That probably would have been maybe a little bit more my speed. Right. But for two reasons I sent this to you. One, because I love talking about this article. We're going to get into the content. I love it. Mm-hmm. And two, because I know, or I have a really good hunch, that you have a lot to bring to the table on this conversation, because it's Ralph Lauren, right? You're a style guy. Ralph Lauren is style, it's lifestyle, it's clothing, it's material items that aren't watches before watches. So I have a feeling that you have a lot to add on this one.
Absolutely.
All right. So first impressions. Did you like the article?
I am biased because I love Ralph Lauren. So yes, I did like the article. What did
you think about the collection itself?
The collection of watches. First of all, when you sent this to me, I was kind of surprised to hear that he collects Panerais and the Cartiers, because I think we talked about this a little bit earlier. They're so different, right? Like the styling of the watches, the purpose that they're built.
They couldn't possibly be more different.
Right, but I think in a way that kind of represents a lot of the style that he puts together in his shoots and the way he wears his own clothing, which I think is it's kind of interesting the fact that he collects those two watches primarily. But his collection's amazing. It's vintage. It's beautiful. It's very understated. Even the big Panerai. It's not like a Hublot where it like screams, right? Yeah, exactly. It doesn't scream at you, but when you stare a little bit longer, you're like, whoa, what is that? That's amazing.
This collection reminds me of, and we'll get more into it, but it reminds me of Ralph Lauren because there's one photo of it. First of all, is it Lauren or is it Lauren? How do you say it?
I believe it's just Lauren, like regular Lauren.
Just Lauren.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. The regular Lauren. So Ralph Lauren. There's a really cool photo online. He's at a black tie event and he's wearing a tuxedo. It was double-breasted tuxedo jacket, crisp white shirt, bow tie, and light wash jeans, and I believe cowboy boots.
I know the exact photo you're talking about.
You saw it? Isn't
yes.
that such a great photo, dude?
Badass. I love that guy.
And that reminds me of this collection, right? You're talking about,
exactly.
the duality, right? You've got these two polar worlds meeting. Exactly. Western rough and tumble, ultra fine, dinnerware.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think that's so cool, and I love Cartier. It's a brand that I'm very passionate about. For you, I know that you, at least on a daily, dress pretty casually. I mean, but on the casual side.
Yeah.
Does Cartier put you off? Is it too formal? What do you think?
No, and I kind of agree with. So I agree with the whole sort of style of Ralph Lauren in the sense that he does high-low really well. And so high-low essentially is, when you mix casual clothing and tailored clothing together. Or there's another definition of that, which is like when you wear sort of like commoner, cheaper brands with like the high-end, like really like fancy menswear. Right, like so.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like a pair of like beaten up old light Levi's and then Alden Cordovan loafer.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So I personally dress that way too. I like doing the high-low look, and I think so with the Cartier. He did mention in the article that he does wear like Cartier with like his more polished looks. But then you see that photo of his with the dinner jacket and the pressed white shirt with light wash jeans and cowboy boots. Like it's funny how he can throw that in there. To answer your question, I love Cartiers. I would probably wear it with casual clothing. I like mixing things up like that, and the more I get to do it in subtle ways, I will do it.
Agreed. I wore a vintage Cartier watch that you actually saw, a vintage Cartier Santos Dumont. It was a watch that we had in the watch shop
for
a little while. And it's funny, you ever see Scarface?
The movie?
The movie.
Yeah.
You remember when what's his name, Robert Loggia tells Tony Montana, "Don't get high on your own supply"?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So the direct correlation to that in curating a vintage watch shop is don't buy things. Buy things that are good investments. Don't buy for yourself. Right. But that all goes to shit when you love watches like nothing else in the world. Right. I have to stop you there. So that's interesting that you said that, because I believe in that article he also mentioned that he doesn't understand when people buy watches for investments. He buys things because they're beautiful and he loves them. What do you think about that? Right. Well, it's tough. There are so many different perspectives here. If you're talking about vintage watches, the conversation is definitely different than modern watches. Modern watches, you lose money immediately. That's just how it is.
Right.
In vintage, if you're buying retail, of course, you lose money in the first, couple of years because you just bought a retail item. But in vintage, to me at least, someone who isn't a wealthy guy, it does feel good to know that what I have has residual value. And if I ever wanted to sell it down the road, even if I never do, it kind of feels good to know that it didn't lose money, or maybe it even made money. Right. I like that idea.
I do too. I was just curious what you thought.
Yeah, now when you're Ralph Lauren and you've got $11 billion, what's the difference?
Right.
But I think for the normal person, I know plenty of normal dudes, man, that have, a lot of their, cash worth tied up in watches that they could very easily, liquidate and either lose very small amounts of money on to the point where if you divide it, you lost $14 a month, or you make money. So to me, it's a huge value prop.
It's like wearable art to me. Like the fact that it is somewhat of an investment, and like I probably could sell my steel Digest now today for more than I bought it for 2-3 years ago, and that's 100%. Amazing to me.
It's just kind of cool. Back to the high-low thing, and I think that's a really cool idea. I wore that Santos Dumont with a linen shirt and a pair of jorts. Right.
I love it.
I hate the word jort, but I'm a big fan of jorts. And I thought that it was kind of cool. I mean, I didn't do it to do high-low. I just did it because I thought it would be an interesting look to a pair of Vans and an ultra-thin 1970s Cartier. It's just cool.
It is cool.
Yeah, and I feel like that is, I can't say it was invented by Ralph Lauren, but when that's done, I feel like it's just very him,
Yeah, absolutely. He has a few photos like that I found over the years, where he does sort of that same thing, just mixing the high and low. He just does it so well. And I think the funny thing is that a lot of guys, and this is what I noticed on YouTube, and maybe not just YouTube, but also comments on the articles that I write on Effortless Gent, I think what it is like people like, men especially like rules, right? They want to be able to follow and prescribe to rules. And when you when you tend to break rules and they're still newbies at the whole style thing or the whole watch thing, they freak the fuck out because they're like, wait, this doesn't follow the rules. But then, like what you start to realize is the longer you're in the game of watches or of clothing or style, there's no rules. You just kind of do whatever you want. And I think
there are no rules.
Exactly. And so I think that's where it comes from. And I love the high-low look. I like the juxtaposition of like something casual, something tailored. I just think it looks great, and it's very interesting. And that's kind of how you can step up your style game just by doing something simple like that,
Oh yeah, prime example. I mean, there's that whole black shoe, blue suit thing, right? That's a big fashion faux pas. And when I first got into clothing, I mean, I'm a clothing hobbyist. I'm certainly not an authority or professional, but I totally prescribed to it. I thought that was like it didn't complement. Brown and blue complement each other, better. It's more flattering. And then I don't know who did it, but I saw. Oh, you know what? I was at a college competition for mock trial, and there's this gentleman wearing a white shirt, a real nice blue suit, and a pair of black Allen Edmond Park Avs, I think, which are a really great value shoe, and it just looked great. It just looked, and it was more. It didn't complement. It didn't complement. It kind of grounded the look, but I loved the way it looked, and I said that's cool. I mean, that's a guy breaking something that is commonly held as a pretty important rule.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the way to go. I mean, like, once you're comfortable in your own style and you have like the baseline understanding of what looks good, what doesn't, and you understand that having that baseline allows you to step over it whenever you want to, and kind of create your own style. And I think that's the beauty of it all. It's like there's no real rigidity in the rules. It's more about like learn it and then do what you want.
And I think that conversation leads right into his Panerai collection, Ralph Lauren's Panerai collection. I mean, that first of all, he has some incredible vintage Panerais. Panerai, although now I still like Panerai. I think it's a cool brand, and a lot of their watches are shitty, but a lot of their watches are really cool. And it's a heritage brand. I mean, it's a brand that dates way back to the First World War. I mean, it's rich. I mean, it's rich in history, and its design is distinct, and it has all the makings of a really interesting watch brand. But Panerai is a brand that has perpetrated this like crime of commonly held watch knowledge, where a watch shouldn't go beyond the parameters of your wrist. Right? I usually don't break that rule, but not because it's a rule, rather because it's, just not how I feel comfortable. It's not what flatters me, right? But Ralph Lauren has taken this to the total extreme. I mean, how big was that Panerai he was wearing? 55 millimeters?
Yeah,
he's wearing
insane.
A clock on his wrist.
Right. That's crazy.
But think about it. He's wearing it over a bomber jacket, right? And and it just looks, I think it looks right. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And, this goes back to the conversation of, the baseline of rules and then being able to step over that when you want to. I mean, clearly it's Ralph Lauren. He knows what he's doing style-wise. He deliberately chose to wear a big-ass watch, and he knows it's going to look awesome. He does what he does, and yeah, I mean, it looks great.
Yeah, and you can.
I don't know if I could do it, but
yeah, well, I say the same for me. That's like wearing a watch like Gianni Agnelli. How people put the watch over the cuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know that look?
Yeah,
that's funny. Yeah, what do you think about that?
Dude, again, like I think whatever a person can do to not just stand out, but kind of express their own taste and style, I'm all for it. Like. Okay, when someone does that nowadays, they instantly think of Gianni, right? Like he's doing the Gianni thing, right? And so he's popularized and he's made that like iconic, that style of wearing your watch over your cuff. Again, it's not right or wrong. It's just it was his personal style. It's what he did, and it was like his little style quirk, and that's cool. That's totally cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I did it once. I did it one night. I was wearing a different vintage Cartier Santos Dumont. And although it's not something that I would do on a regular basis because it's not my thing, it's not something that's mine, I think. But I gotta say, ripping someone off for that, one night, it felt cool. Like I was wearing a cable knit sweater, and a blue, and a white, crisp shirt. And when someone would ask to see my watch, I would flip up the sweater and show them, the watch on my cuff. It was cool, man. It was kind of fun. It was doofy, but having fun with it.
It sounds all about having fun. I think same with the watches, right? Like sometimes, you want to get into the history and the information about the watch and how much it's going to appreciate over time. But I think when it comes down to it, you also just want to really like wearing the watches that you wear, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Talking about, and one more quick stop here. Ralph Lauren's collection, my collection, your collection. We're talking about three different people, of course, on opposite ends of the financial spectrum, but three different people, right, that obviously have an admiration for the past, right? You have Seiko that is how old?
20 years old at this point.
You have a Seiko that's 20 years old. Your date just is from when?
1980, I want to say 6 or 4.
There you go. So you're wearing two old watches, and my watches are old as well. The Omega on my wrist is from '54, right?
That's awesome.
I have an opinion on this, but I want yours. Have you seen Midnight in Paris?
No, I have not.
No. Okay. Well, you just killed my conversation. No, I'm just kidding. The essence of the movie. It's a Woody Allen movie, and it's a cool movie. The point is, it talks about glorifying the past, right? The concept of the movie is basically to show you that although the 20s seem cooler, they have their own problems, and they're not. They're not cooler.
Right.
You know, and the 50s seem great with the Omega on your wrist, but the 50s were not the Omega on your wrist. The 50s were much larger issues, you know, and you know, they didn't end at the cool little bumper, you know, watch. You know, but that being said, do you glorify like the past, particularly in watches, but elsewhere?
I don't know if I glorify it. I think I just have a reverence for it and a respect for it, and I like to. I think of the past as, especially when I look at my watches, I think more about the memories and like the years that have gone by that I've done stuff. So it's more about just having a sense of reverence for it. I don't necessarily glorify it. I think I just like to, in my mind and in my heart, like give it its place, right? And these are the kinds of things I think about when I look at my watches, or you know, like yeah. I don't know. Does that make sense? Like, it's not really necessarily.
No, it does. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not saying it was better then, but geez, things were beautiful then as they are now, just different.
Right, and everyone has their own experiences, and you know, like I think just we all can say different things about our past. Maybe some people don't have good past. Mine just happened to be great. And then when I look at my watch, it was from the '80s, the decade I was born. Yeah. I don't know. Like it's just cool. It's cool to see like, hey, this thing got made when I was a sperm in my dad's wiener. You know, like it's cool to think that way, right? And then now I'm wearing it on my wrist. It's like cool. And yeah, it's just more of reverence and respect.
It's just a story, man. I mean, my Datejust, the watch my first watch that I ever bought, it was manufactured in 1977, right? That was the year Elvis died, right? That was the year that the son of Sam was torturing, you know, New York City, right?
Yeah.
That was, I believe, the year that the Bronx was burning, right? The New York blackouts, right? You know, call me, I don't know, full of shit and overly poetic, you know, but. I think, and although that was obviously a really bad year, but my watch came out of it, so it was great. But the point is, it's just kind of cool to know that this fully functional, useful thing that plays a huge role in your life is or has seen just as much, if not more, than you.
Yeah.
Whereas when I buy a new watch, I don't feel that, and you appreciate the watch for different reasons.
Right.
But you and I definitely have common ground, you know, on appreciating the old.
Yeah, and I think, you know, for an argument for like the new modern stuff, like if I were to walk into, I don't know, Torno and like buy a watch, I think the cool thing about that, you know, just to argue the other side, is that in 30 years I can hand that to my son or my daughter or whatever, and now there's a story with that watch because it's mine and I made it vintage, right? So there's that side too.
Of course, no dispute at all. Bringing it back to your Datejust, I want to play a game.
Okay.
We're not going to do quick fire questions this time. Mm-hmm. We're going to draw a watch. Okay. So get a pen and paper.
Okay. All right.
I'll wait patiently. Take your
all right. Okay. I got a Post-it note. Is that okay?
That's fine. If you think you can draw your watch, we're in a competition. We're in a competition. It's going to be you versus me.
Okay.
And Anna's going to be the judge. So Anna, you want to come be the judge here?
All right. So this is the game show portion of this episode. Hello, watch fan, Barron, Christian. All right. So we're gonna draw a watch. Each person has 15 seconds.
Jesus.
We're gonna do it at the same time. I can't see Barron right now, but I trust that you only take 15 seconds. Today we're gonna be drawing the Rolex Submariner.
Oh Jesus.
Okay.
Ready?
I'm gonna be so bad at this.
And we're gonna see whose is better.
Yeah, this is definitely a competition.
All right.
Is everyone ready?
You ready?
No.
15 seconds.
All right.
It's like no.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Stop.
That looks nothing like a watch. Oh my god.
Barron, you better be stopped.
Okay, Barron.
I did do it.
This is
so bad.
You should see.
This is great.
See mine. Jesus.
Wow.
All right, Anna's gonna take a photo of mine.
Barron, take a photo of yours. Oh my god. And you spilled on it too.
I spilled on it too.
That is so funny.
How did yours come out?
It looks terrible.
At least.
Wait, so you told me to draw a Casio calculator watch, right?
Yeah. Oh my God, that's the Casio calculator. You really did do that.
Casio calculator.
Oh my God! Look at my Submariner. Do you see that? It looks like an ugly guy.
But I will say, on the Submariner, you can't tell it's a Submariner, but you can see the crown.
I can see.
So it's at least.
Let's call this a tie.
Yeah.
But
there's at least that. That's a great Casio calculator.
That actually is a good Casio calculator.
Everyone wins right here.
That's great. That's it, guys. Barron and I just made a couple of fools of ourselves. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Talks. Teenage Talk? Talk.
I think it's going to be Teenage Talk.
I think it'd be Teenage Talks. Like
Teenage.
No, it's TED Talk.
TED Talk?
Barron?
Fine, TNH Talk.
Let's go with that.
Thank you guys again so much for watching this episode of TNH Talk. And Barron, thank you for coming on. You are the man, as always. Had a blast. And guys, go ahead and follow Barron Quadro at Effortless Gent on Instagram and on YouTube. His videos are very informational, and I think you're going to really like them. Again, thanks so much, and we'll see you guys on Thursday.